Evening, ladies. So this is the starting balance for the challenge. Starting at 76k. The goal is to get to 1 million. So from here, that is a 13x, pretty much exactly. And that's the goal. And these are the vehicles that I'll be using. Lots of small caps with pumpermentals and lots of shit coinery. So first of all, ZKML is the first chart to look at. So this is like an AI privacy token. As I said, it's tiny market cap. They've got 3 working products. I'm not going to go deep into all these tokens in this video. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what I'm in and why I'm in it. I even ask myself sometimes as well. So first one, ZK, that one has always been pumpy. As soon as ETH has moved tiny amounts, this thing has absolutely gone on a tear. Tether, this is not me sat in stables. This is actually an active trading account. So yeah, that will change. Infrax, this is another tiny market cap token. So Infrax and Node AI, they make up about 20% of my whole portfolio. There's a couple of memes, high caps, layer ones. Overall though, the main top ones, 50%, this makes up of the whole portfolio. And this is why. If we first of all look at, not that, ZK's chart is probably one of the better looking alt charts at the moment, in my opinion. I've highlighted a couple of these just because we've had a golden cross again recently. The last time we saw this sort of price action, from that low there, this went on and did 500%, 6x over 53 days. So that would take us over to September. So whether we get a similar situation, who knows? But overall, I'm pretty optimistic with this. I think a couple of 100 mil market cap, I think it can achieve. The game with these, my strategy with this is to hold low caps, and very rarely are you ever going to be rewarded in low caps without holding through massive periods of volatility and a few haircuts. And let me tell you, I've had a few of those. Let's just say it was a full shave. Perhaps you got a full shave on a few of those. Yeah, so there's a few, and a lot of those were low caps as well, because a lot of them don't come back. Some of them, I've been in this token for a while, and through a lot of this period here where it really bled, I believe it got fudded, and I remember waking up and seeing people talking about it on Twitter, and a friend of mine and myself, we both ended up buying more of it. But you do so, well, I do so, I scale into things over time. I don't just willy-nilly just go bang and just start unloading the cassette on the first opportunity, because you get a feel for things as well, and over time more information comes to light. That's my strategy anyway, because in the past when I've just gone FOMO'd into things, usually it's ended up me getting wrecked. I think a lot of these posts are pretty accurate. Everyone is relatively calm. People have massively reduced their expectations. The price targets are massively low. We've only seen we've seen a few high caps move. It's obviously Bitcoin's been in the limelight. ETH has just started waking up. We've seen a few high caps, Sui and others just rip, but a few outliers. But the majority of alts have massively underperformed, and we can see a lot of these charts. Even if we go, mid caps. Last cycle, I was buying this token, Theta, it's called, fully diluted, and I still made every single mistake possible in this, buying all the tops all the way up. Started with 1,000. Over the course of that, I think I put about 16k into it, but somehow managed to get all the way to about 53k or something. The market was extremely forgiving, and yeah, sold the low somewhere around here and still somehow made 11k. If we look at the seasonality with this, I like to just see this. Obviously it doesn't work with new tokens, but for tokens that have been through previous bull cycles, you can just get a feel for where we're at and seeing if we're somewhere near. Obviously with ETH and XRP and things like that, you can do it. But you can see these absurd moves things go on. 2020, this was after the COVID low. But people will argue not all tokens are going to rip like they did before, which, very much likely. But I also think it's still an attention economy, and there's no point considering the tokens that are completely illiquid. Like, no one's trading these shit coins that are on Pump Fun that have no liquidity and no trading volume, because there's no point even considering them. So I still think that there's clearly going to be ones, and you need to look at the ones that are outperforming Bitcoin, and currently the ones that are outperforming ETH, because ETH is the dominant force at the moment. What I wanted to also look at was ZK versus ETH, because although the ZK USD chart, even disregard that because it's not actually true, high lows, price compression, it's been range bound ultimately. We haven't seen any massive moves. When we look at the chart versus Ethereum, which is what we should be doing with all coins that we're looking at, this is in a pretty big wedge, and I didn't really like the look of that. But if you end up selling and chopping in and out of positions over relatively small moves like that, especially with micros, you end up, you're going to be gnawing through your bag pretty quick, especially with these things that have got 5% buy and sell taxes. Well, although ZK's reduced theirs, there's also slippage to consider, liquidity. So that's why my strategy on this is very simple. It's just hold the bag, and when we see the big moves, that's when you start layering out of these things. A lot of these charts are very similar. Node AI, GPU, we can have a quick look on that one. This is not too bad, but very similar to a lot of the charts at the moment, the alts, that you'll see with most alts. So on high time frames, doesn't look too bad. On the daily, it's trading above the 200, so that's a positive. You could argue that we've put in higher lows. What we're waiting for, this is just back in an accumulation zone. Some of these moves, back, where are we? End of last year, so November, we had a bit of a flag there, broke out the flag, and bang, and off it went. And this is a post I saw the other day from Crypto Quant. They rarely deviate from tokens outside of BTC, but he did a post on ETH, and then someone shared this as well, which I thought was interesting, because this represents, so mid-small caps, we've not seen anything yet. So the capital rotations haven't started, clearly. This was, March 2024, when a lot of those on-chain AI tokens and things like that got released. And that's when they just went nuts. This is when people got filled with confidence. And then typically, like the Eiffel Tower again, it comes straight back down. So what we need to see before you start whinging that your tokens or your allocation hasn't started moving, if you're seeing this sort of stuff and yours hasn't moved, then there's a much bigger issue there. Oh, God, that could have been awkward then if I had a picture of my Willy hanging out. That's my dog there. I'll go back to, so I've got a few on the watch list as well. Tokens like this, extremely strong. Just broken out a bit of a flag here. Once we clear this zone, I think that's going to fly. I like the look of some of these, but I'll just stick to the ones that I am allocated to at the moment. I'll be honest, there is very little in this chart that would imply that I should be allocating into it. Well, on positive notes, we can see it is holding the range low well, if that is a positive. But I've looked beyond the price action for infra. I like the way the team deal with things. I listen to a lot of the AMAs. I like Justice. He's very active on Twitter. You'll see, I was reading these as well. How to turn 6 figures in. Yeah, he's very active in, let's have a look. Justin Porter. He always goes into detail with infra. And they are not far off releasing the V4 DApp. So if it doesn't pump and leave these lower ranges here, I'd be quite concerned. But we've not seen really any sizable moves from anything recently. If we look at some of the bigger caps, so large caps, Doge. So if you can zoom out of everything and look on high time frames to see where we're really at with everything. Obviously last cycle Doge went absolutely nuts. This cycle we've had a bit of, well, we've had a fair bit of move, a decent move back through here. Again, end of last year, putting massive dildos up here. And again, I think this is looking like a decent setup here. It's above moving averages. I've only got a tiny position in this, few grand or something like that. But I do see this is going to be a performer. It's already sort of been stress tested and established itself as a main meme. What I did notice this morning, I was looking on the daily at the OBV, and every time we've seen these just little flags form, and then it's just broken out and it's just ripped higher every single time. The OBV. Obviously you want to check the volume just to see if it substantiates the move, and we've just literally broken out of that again. Again, speculative, but I think, yeah, these normally lead, these higher caps. With, again, this is also, I think in my portfolio I've got about 7k or so in that. So yeah, I think this looks like it wants to run, because even if you just disregard everything else, you know, you've put in a bit of a higher low here. Even if we look at the higher time frame, I think with, you know, there's some good opportunity here as well. So overall, yeah, so we can look through at the analytics. This is it. So as you can see, 50% ZK, 15%, that makes up around 20% combined, and then we've got some shrapnel and a few bits and bobs there. Moon Tropica, this chart, super pumpy. If we look at, again, this is massively retraced, but when they do move, and usually when people are calling them dead, they've got a super interesting community. And yeah, you see we're back at range lows again. The last time this moved, like from these levels here, it just went nuts, like a 40x, like silly numbers, and it did it so quickly. 63 days, it went from a minute market cap all the way to over 100 mil. And yeah, it's a AAA game. They seem to be doing all the right things. They make a lot of noise and they're always banging the drum. So yeah, I'll be potentially adding to this one, but I don't recommend anybody follows this. This is an extremely high risk portfolio, very low market cap. ZK does have a fair bit decent sized liquidity compared to other tokens. You know, there's a lot we can look at in other videos, number of holders, all that sort of stuff, and I'll show you the software and things that I use to go through and do the analysis on all of that. If we look over at the analytics though, you can see the whole portfolio itself. Typically, you don't get huge amounts of time to make decisions when things go nuts. This was in December, so over the course of about a month, it just went ballistic, and then comes straight back down like the Burj Khalifa. Like, look at it, and it puts in new lows. And although it was never my intention to sell anything there, so I can't hate myself for doing it because I never deviated from my plan. Although it would have made a lot of sense, like I'm not a complete retard, despite a lot of these puppies here. These are the invoices that the markets send you for wisdom. That's true. So yeah, the game is very clear. For me, my strategy is accumulate through the range lows and sell into euphoria. The other charts that I would like to quickly look at, I mean, there's a lot of charts I could go through on this, but I'll do it in a separate video. A lot of custom ratios, because a lot of people are sort of scratching their heads, things that coincide with this, the rotations of capital. Now we're seeing ETH move. There's just different parts of the puzzle, ways that we can establish where the capital's moving. You know, obviously there's Bitcoin dominance, and I, you know, very strongly believe that's topped. We can look at ETH dominance when ETH dominance reaches around the 19% level, USDT dominance, and then there are also custom charts that are worth looking at. So, you know, total 100, if we look at that on lower time frames, when this chart reverses, this is going to show us that excluding the top 100 are outperforming ETH. This is when shit coins are outperforming ETH, and obviously we have not. There's nothing remotely bullish about that chart whatsoever. So yeah, in another video, because I'll be doing a fair few updates on this, I'll go through a few different custom charts, why I've made the decisions to be in a lot of these tokens, because ultimately they're all shit coins and they will all pretty much go to zero, but I want to be in the fastest horses, and this one has always demonstrated its strength, and I think this one is going to be a serious contender for the low caps that go. It's Ator's little brother, anyone who's familiar with the privacy sector. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Very straightforward, very few tokens. I don't have, you know, 20 coins or anything like that. I strongly believe, well, it's actually a fact, the more tokens that you have exposure to, the less likely you are to take profit and make the right things. What's going to happen is if you've got 20 tokens, it's extremely difficult to manage because you've got, you know, 20 different things popping off at different times, and you're just going to be like a deer in headlights. So if you could have 3 or 4 tokens, ideally, it's going to be a lot more efficient, and you're going to be able to take profit and have, you know, clarity in times where, because when emotions are high, intelligence is low, and you ideally want to be reverse trading your emotions. If you're gonna start sending your mate snapshots of you know your profits on things, that's a very, very good time to look at taking something off the table. Anyway, that is pretty much it in a nutshell. We need to ride this puppy back. So follow me if you can, like and subscribe. I want to say thanks to my 3 viewers that have been watching these videos, and I'm going to keep posting them and just do what I need to do. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. See you on the next one.